Hello, my name is Richard Anthony Marca, and this is my EGR402 Capstone Sprint 5 review. Now, the first thing I'm going to go over is the Sprint retrospective, where we take a live look at JIRA for the burn down chart, scope changes, complete and incomplete issues, and more. The first thing I'm going to show is the chart summaries. Here is the sprint burndown chart. As you can see, it both starts and ends at roughly the same place. And if I go to the sprint burnup chart, we can see that even with the gray guideline, the work scope and the completed work have met together in a good area. And if we look at the backlog, mostly everything has been completed with the exception of one lower end task and the sprint presentation, which we put on here just to keep track. And here is a more in-depth look at the burn down and burn up charts. As you can see, out of the 30 story points, we have completed 27 and only 3 remain. And here is the burn down retrospective review. So things that went well, we did a much better job of properly tracking the progress throughout the sprint. There was even more integration with the mechanical engineering and electrical engineering teams, and we finished the integration of all our Sprint 4 code. For rooms for improvement, we do need to start some of these assignments earlier. Some of these were started later than they should have. We still do need some better communication of progress, but it has improved significantly. And we do need to integrate the latest changes of Sprint 5 and extra things that were given from the MEs and ECEs into our combined code. Abraham and I have completed all our tasks, and Titus has one task that's still giving him trouble, but most of the tasks that were assigned to him were completed. So it's going to be hard for me to show exactly like all the progress because it was like final corrections and proofreading on the design document and other code documents. But the cleanup code and removing redundancies have been added, and the pathing trail is going to be the main thing I'm going to show. Now I will show a live feature demo of the current project. Here is a live demonstration of the most recent code. As you can see, a lot of this stuff is going to have a new simulator shared file where we have a lot of imports. So there are two major things that are going to be different in this one. One was shown earlier in the pathing lines, but the other is also going to be shown as an issue that we previously had, was that when the robot was done scaling and going into cleaning, it kind of jumped too much into the center. Now it's going to be exactly where we left off relative to the new scale, so it stops looking less funky, which I will demonstrate shortly. Here's a look at the shared simulator file, which has just a bunch of different imports of methods so that it reduces the size of main. Main is still quite long. It is about 1350, 1360 lines when it was almost 2000 before, so we definitely reduced the size and got rid of some redundancies. Now, the joystick is the main mover, is the main method of moving, and we also added this bright pink pathing trail color, which I will show later. If we scroll down more to these are for the shared files, shared methods for import that's imported. And here is some of the main map points to scale window to make sure that when the robot switches from scaling to cleaning mode, it is normalized and stays in the same location. There's going to be some more code down here for that, which is when you stop scaling mode, you lock the pose and you have the source path. This is to apply the scaling state. If you're in scaling state, it knows where your position is in the new boundaries. So it'll know exactly where you need to be put compared to the center or centroid. And this is for the triggers. This is to make sure that it helps stay in the correct area. And that should be it for the main updates on this file, but let me show a live demonstration. So if I start it, the start looks pretty similar, but if I go into scaling mode and I create the scale, before when I did this, it would end the scaling slightly towards the center, but if I actually do this now, well, now it ends where it's supposed to end. In fact, I also made sure that when I did that, it's also in bounds. Because one of the earlier struggles with that was it kept ending out of bounds. But now if I start the water, you're going to see this pink trailing line that comes from the center. When this needs to restation, it's also going to be when the water is going to be turned off. So if I turn the water off, well, now the line stops as well. And since the line is in the center, the water reaches out a little bit further. And if I turn the water on again, the line starts again, but also it could go over the pass. And this line is mainly for when we go back, we know exactly where it needs to start again. So we start it again at the correct place. And that is it for the live demonstration. The next sprint planning is mainly going to be completing the design documents in our other reports. And there are also going to be a few more proofreading. And since I am in charge of proofreading, I will be proofreading the design document to make sure everything looks good. And that is it for this video. Thank you, and I will see you next time.